Good evening. It's great to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having my wife and I flew in yesterday to this beautiful town. We've never been here, and it's absolutely amazing. We know why you guys love it here. So I want to talk a little bit about what we do. Cheryl knows how much I love to talk, so she told me you got 15 minutes. And we started Ink 180 in Chicago in 2011. Actually, this coming Tuesday is our 14th anniversary of the mission of Ink 180. 80% of the work that we do is done for free. We do it to help former gang members trying to get their lives back on track, sex trafficking survivors, domestic violence survivors, and self-harm survivors. And it's been a trip. I told Lisa, when we received this calling, I said, we'll probably only do like 2 or 3 a month. Don't worry about the money side of things. Celebrating 14 years of doing this mission, we've helped over 13,000 people free of charge. We grew up in Los Angeles. A lot of my friends were involved in gangs. I lost about 17 friends when I was growing up. And when we moved our family to Chicago, we saw the same garbage happening every night on the news. And about 6 months into doing the mission of Ink 180, where we were solely focused on removing and covering gang tattoos for people, I gave an update at my church one morning, and this guy came running up after me. He looked like Jonesy, and he tapped me on my shoulder like a Kodiak bear and turned me around and said, I'm with Homeland Security. Can you come and present to my gang unit? I said, absolutely, I'd love to. I'd love to sit in a room with federal agents and not be handcuffed to the table. It'd be pretty great. And as I was driving up for the meeting that day, he called me and asked if their trafficking unit could sit in on the discussion. And I said, what does drug trafficking have to do with removing tattoos? And he said, no, Chris, this is sex trafficking. And they spent 3 hours with me, and it changed my life. After that 3 hours of discussion of very high level what trafficking looked like, not only in this country but abroad, they said, Chris, would you be willing to expand your ministry work to help remove and cover the branding tattoos of trafficking survivors? I was like, guys, that's the easiest yes I've ever said in my life besides marrying my wife. I said, let's get to work. And then they called other friends. So now we're blessed to be able to partner with Homeland Security, the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, organizations like In Our Backyard, safe houses across the country. It's a tremendous blessing. I'm going to show you a couple samples of our work here. So on the top here, you can see, I apologize for the language, but I didn't do that to her. It said realist bitch on the backs of her hands. And she was out of life for 6 years and still had those tattoos. She came up to me from Springfield, Illinois, and I sat with her for 2 hours, and we just talked. And a lot of survivors, when I asked them, what do you want me to cover those tattoos with if they opt for a cover-up? And they say, Chris, just black it out. Just put black ink over it. I just don't want to see it. And I don't want to do that. I'm an artist. I love this medium of art. I love giving people something that symbolizes transformation, growth, something beautiful coming out of something horrific. And I talked to her. She started a business doing landscape architecture where she also hires other survivors and teaches them business management skills. And I asked her, I said, what's your favorite kind of flower? And she said, one of the only happy memories of my childhood was working with my grandmother in her backyard on her roses. So we covered realist bitch with 2 black and gray roses for her. On the bottom here, it's hard to see with the lighting. This was actually from this last Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It's not always tattoos. This survivor had a trafficker who was somebody I would love to have in a dark room for 10 minutes. Every time she would come back at night and didn't make her quota, he would take the cigar out of his mouth and burn her forearms as a punishment. She had 47 cigar burns on the inside of both forearms. I spent 10 and a half hours with her in Las Vegas and covered it with the tattoo on the bottom right. Now, the best thing about that interaction is not the tattoo. Granted, it's great she doesn't have to look at those scars anymore or try to explain it to people when they ask all the time. The most beautiful part about that interaction was the 10 and a half hours I got to spend with her and give her space and listen One of the greatest gifts God has blessed me with in this new part of my life is the ability to shut my mouth and open my ears and give people the respect and listen to them and hear their stories. Because as we've been talking tonight at our table and last night here, everything I've learned about human trafficking is from survivors. We need to give them the place, the respect, and the time to learn from them. Now I want to, if we go to the next slide here, this was from the Tampa Super Bowl. I've worked with other organizations, and now you know why I work with In Our Backyard, because they're the best, right? I've had different situations, different Super Bowls. I've been to the last 8, way more than my favorite 2 teams have, that's for sure. But we're in Tampa with In Our Backyard, and the picture on the right, or on the left, I'm sorry, is a 14-year-old girl that was being trafficked out of Fort Worth, Texas, named Amber Salas. Now, my role at the command center, Cheryl loves it because I got really good at hacking into social media. My kids hate that I got really good at hacking into social media. But I would go and look at social media, and I got assigned Amber's poster, and it shook me. It absolutely stopped me dead in my tracks. Because that picture on the right, that's my then 15-year-old daughter, Quinn Baker. It absolutely stopped me in my tracks. I left the command center, I went up to my room, I FaceTimed Lisa and Quinn. I just had to see her face and hear her voice. And then I went to work. And I found a lot of information on this young woman. And when the information was handed over to law enforcement, I said, guys, when you find her, I just need to know she's alive. And they said, well, we're going to do our best. I said, no. When you find her, I need to know she's okay. That's all. I gave them my cell phone number. And a number of nights went by, no luck. 4 nights later, they called me and they said, Chris, we found her. And I had this huge weight taken off of my shoulders. And they said, you can't see her, you can't talk to her, you can't anything. But she's being transported to be evaluated right now. And if you want to see her, you can see her behind glass, like 2-way glass. And I said, okay, I got in the car, I drove over there. It's a 15-minute drive. And I wish I never did it. Because what I saw behind glass when I got there was a physical version of my little girl, addicted to drugs, horrifically abused, malnourished. I left, I got back in my car, I was driving back to the command center, and I stopped at 7-Eleven because I was falling asleep on the drive back. Don't ever do this, Jonesy. Definitely you don't do it, because I'm not taking you to the ER in New Orleans, but I grabbed 3 of those 5-hour energy shots, and I slammed them. I went back, I took my laptop up to my room and the list of posters, and I kept going through the night. I stayed up for like 37 hours straight. This work and the work of In Our Backyard is why I will always go to the Super Bowl and other events to help out. Because it's somebody's kid. They're all somebody's kids. You guys being here tonight are showing that you're in the fight. We're all here to fight for the same thing, for our kids. We celebrate our freedom in this country. The United States is known as the land of the free. Let's make it that way. Let's make it that way. In addition to the work of just covering and removing tattoos, Lisa and I go into the schools as well. We teach social media safety. We talk about the tie-in and how pimps use social media to groom kids. We love doing that work. It was actually my oldest daughter's idea when she was 16. And we also do workforce training. We train emergency room staffs, salon staffs. We've gotten laws changed to be able to remove trafficking tattoos on minors, something we're trying to take nationwide. This issue of human trafficking is the biggest segment of our fight, because these are all somebody's kids. So I thank you guys so much for coming tonight. If you want to learn more about us, just check out ink180.com, or I'll be here all night with my wife. Please come and say hello. And thank you guys all for coming tonight. God bless you guys.